All right. Greetings and welcome back. Greetings and welcome back once again, everyone. Welcome to the conversation. I was talking on mute. My apologies. If you're new to the channel, greetings and welcome. Like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for coming. And if you back and you already know, you're done already. Welcome back. I just finished watching the third part of this Kanye Netflix documentary, and I said, let me just go ahead and do this review and everything that I gleaned so I could get it off my brain and move on with my life. Welcome to those who have just joined us, because that's kind of how my brain works. It absorbs, and then I have to do something with it. And then after I do something with it, I'm good and I keep it moving, right? Everybody works how they work. You don't know. Queen T, welcome to the conversation. India, welcome to the conversation. Always good to see you guys. Queen and Zinga, welcome to the conversation. And so I would like to shout out the brother Cootie, I believe his name is, and and Cuddy, the two guys who 21 years ago, okay, saw the value in this young man to record his life. The recording started 21 years ago. Can you imagine that somebody sees that you're going to be something, you're going to be big. They believe in you before anybody else really does. Your core circle of people, and they record you throughout. They started recording him before he bust, as they say, before he blew up, before he quote unquote made it big. And without his footage, the documentary wouldn't be possible. And I think, if anything, we can see value in acknowledging those who are around us, right? not when others. One of the issues that we have, and you already know this is Solonomics, so I don't just talk about this stuff to talk about it. We got to get something out of it. I'm just saying it's entertaining, but it ain't that entertaining. So I'm always here to get what I can get and share what I can share. But it's a lesson in knowing how, or the value of people around you, valuing you before other people do. Right? Sometimes people don't see your value until someone else does, and they'll be like, "Yo, I know that person. Yeah, I knew them when, and we used to be at the studio." And right, but they showed that they valued him by putting in this work, right? So shout out to them. Uh, what did I name this? Kanye Karma. So as I'm watching the his life being captured from so early on, you're able to see a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise see, which is how seeds are planted, how they're germinated, how they grow, and ultimately what they become, right? Because sometimes when we're in our beginning stages, we say a lot of things. What we're gonna do, what we want to do. Yo, when I make it, I'm gonna do da 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 da. We say a lot of things. When I grow up, right? And then as time goes along, either we forget that we said those things, or they naturally fade from our memories. But that already was released into the universe. That sound was already released, right? And it is already in motion, even if it doesn't come back to us for many, many years later. So I thought that was interesting to see, as he said a number of things about what he thought his life was going to be, and not necessarily specifying in some areas and being very clear in others. One of the things I want to concentrate on right now is what he's going through with his divorce, and mental illness, right? Because we've been touching on mental illness on this channel. But as I was doing a little research, not too much, I was trying not to get distracted, but I was just doing a little research, and I came across a YouTube video from an MTV interview that he did back in 2002. So essentially 2002, this is before he bust, but he is still doing beats for well-known artists, right? And he finally gets on, what's the name of this? You hear it here first. So I'm gonna share my screen because he says something. And after I finished watching the documentary, I'm like, where did I hear that? Where did I hear that? Because I have like little mental notes. I know we all do, like little mental notes, like, wait, okay, that's gonna be important sometime. But let me keep going. So let me share my screen because he says something 20 years ago that we acting like it's brand new now because so much has happened since then. So let me share my screen and share my audio here. And I fast forwarded to a part, it's on YouTube, but I fast forwarded to this part because I thought it had value. Listen up, let's listen. So this is, he's not famous because he's getting some notoriety for being a producer, but he wants to be a rapper. And so he saw being a producer as a way to get ultimately to becoming a rapper because he has something to say. The fact that he talks so much, we know that his throat, his energy center, or some would say his throat chakra, is wide open. Sometimes when something is wide open, it means that something else may be some other energy from, we're in balance, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But without going down that rabbit hole, I'm going to play a little bit of this.
You know, it's like I'm a listen to things that my father told me and my stepfather told me and walk like that and try to walk in a way that I could look to God the next day. If it's something that I gotta repent for, it's something I gotta repent for. It's something that as a man, you know what I'm saying? Because I got things that I'm addicted to. Like I like to be in the club, you know what I'm saying, and do the club thing and stuff. But also it's like I know it's like this light that I have to follow, you know what I'm saying? And
Wait, so pause. There's a duality in him, and you already know how YouTube is. Shout out to those who are tuning in from Facebook. We have to pause, so let's do that. He has a self-awareness. What, he's 22 at this age. He's in, I mean, this is 2002, right? And you heard him say he has addictions. He's aware of certain demons, but he's also aware that there's a level of accountability for his actions, right? So he had a level of awareness at this young age. Come on, let's play.
I'm not easily influenced. Like when I was in kindergarten, people used to tell me stories like they'd come and all the kindergartners would be following me around the class. Cause I'm gonna be the one that say no. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I feel like if people don't agree with what you're saying, and they be like, "Oh man, fuck him, he a bitch." You know what I'm saying? He ain't one of da 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 da. It's all the same theory what your parents used to tell you a long time ago. Like, yo, if he jump off the bridge, would you jump off also? I'm saying I ain't jumping off no bridges.
So he's basically saying, and you would have to hear the beginning 20 minutes of the interview, but he's jumping around. If you listen to him in for any long measure, you understand he's a bit sporadic with his thought process. It looks like he's overwhelmed with a lot of thoughts, and he has trouble trying to get it out sometimes. And so basically he's saying he's his own man and he has a mind of his own. But listen to when he gets into this rap. This is the part I want to get to. So bear with me because y'all know I like the run up. I don't like to just like jump into it because I like context.
Go ahead, dog. It's all good. All right, dog. I'm just be up here. I'm just be up here living right now. You know what I'm saying? Don't move to New York. I say one line and be like, how you go to New York? But you ain't never took a tour there, but you ain't know you gotta be rich just to be poor there. There's a song I got on my album called Dream Killers that basically talks about how people just try to just down you. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Since DV tape is not that expensive, I'm gonna go ahead and spit you one of the raps from it. It goes, I'm finna get on this TV and put it down. I ain't finna let these light skinned dudes come back in style. I'm finna hold on. Bleep that out. All right.
When you throughout this whole interview, before he's Yeezy, before all of this stuff, you see that he's thinking about what he's saying and he's hearing himself as he's saying it. And if it doesn't sound right to him, he'll be like, let's start all over, right? So it's someone who's not just necessarily always just flowing without censorship or self-censorship.
I'm like, I'm finna get on this TV and put it down. I ain't finna let these light skinned dudes come back in style. I'm finna turn this class clown shit to crazy G's. They told my mom I think he bipolar, had ADD.
That's the part that I did all of this for. So I'm gonna go back as he's rapping, as many rappers do, telling their story. Well, he would have to say yes or no, but he was conscious enough at this time in 2002, before he blew up, before he made Jay is Walking, he puts in his rhyme that they told his mother that he either was bipolar or had ADD. So this, for me, when I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. This conversation comes out again during recent years, but the reality is his mother may have known, and that may have been why there was a level of overcompensation and letting him know that you can do whatever you want, and imbuing with him, instilling with him a sense of confidence, because there's a possibility, as we know, amongst many young melanated males, that the school system will try to typecast you as having ADHD if you're hyperactive, putting you on medication, putting you in special classes. This is something we know. We know about the school system, especially with melanated men. So I'm gonna go back because he raps it. Let me just full disclosure: I was not following Kanye West. By this time, I'm not into rap music, so a lot of things I wasn't paying attention to. Right. The reason I'm covering this story because I think it has value for many reasons. And so, if this is not news to y'all, please forgive me because I wasn't. By 2002, where was I? I just moved back to New York. He was in New York when I was in New York, but I was on some totally different stuff. But let me just go ahead and rewind here.
That basically talks about how people just try to just down you. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Since DV tape is not that expensive, I'm gonna go ahead and spit you one of the raps from it. It goes, I'm finna get on this TV and put it down. I ain't finna let these light skinned dudes come back in style. I'm finna bleep that out. All right. I'm like, I'm finna get on this TV and put it down. I ain't finna let these light skinned dudes come back in style. I'm finna turn this class clown shit to crazy G's. They told my mom I think he bipolar, had ADD. I told him what I wanna do. I wanna be a baller. The dream spoilers are for you. Hating on you till they man's on the call list. Old folks said he never make it off the corner. They out of vibe.
Okay, pause. So basically, that's the part I wanted to get from that. That maybe he got a label, class clown, play around. The teacher may be like, Miss West, you want to take a look at possibly he has some learning deficiencies. We don't know. Right. But we do know he thought enough of it because oftentimes when people just come into the game, they're more transparent. Right. He didn't have anything to hide at this point. That they told your mother that you had ADD or you was bipolar. Okay, so this was something again, like when I did the first part of the review, asking, you know, his mother went hard in telling him you can do it, you know, whatever you. She was his number one fan, and now I think this lends some understanding or light on possibly why she went the route that she did. Yeah. Okay, so that was that. So that was part of the story here. And then let me see. I don't think Netflix really lets me play. Uh, well, I'm gonna try anyway. Let me know if you guys hear the sound or if you see anything, because there is a part in the first episode where he's walking down the street and he's being filmed and he's passing a newspaper stand. You know, in the city, there's newspaper stands, you know, and you can pass it and do whatever. So let me go to Netflix here and see if I can get that part for you. Hey, how's everybody doing? Queen T said good afternoon. Queen T is funny. Brilliant, thought provoking. May, you know, may the Most High be praised. It's yeah, thought provoking. It's funny. I'll tell y'all a story while I'm trying to get the Netflix up. I remember when I decided, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to what you call it. Let me not miss my part right here. Hold on.
First, on your boy, whack ass me, can't rap ass me.
Okay, hold on. And I remember going to doing a semester at seminary school, and when I was at seminary school, uh, the professor, I used to ask all the questions. I'm like disruptor in class. Not really. I just wanted to get to the meat and potatoes. Like, why are we even here? Why are we having this conversation if we're not going to be honest? And the professor was all like, anytime I'm ready to call, he's like, they be looking at me like, I don't know if I wanna ask her. Oh man, what's my Netflix again? Because she about to say some crazy stuff. And so that thought provoking comment, he's like, keep asking those provocative questions. I was like, why the questions gotta be provocative though? So when you said that provoking, that reminded me of that. Sorry, that was a little flashback. He was like, yes. And the students in the class used to be like, you ask the question, you ask the question. I'm like, why I always gotta ask the question? Why can't y'all ask your own questions? Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get this Netflix up. You know, with all of these what do you call them here? All of these passwords, man, you can't remember every single password. So I'm logged in on one screen, but not logged in on the other screen. So that's just not gonna work for me. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, let's see. Come on, man. How's everybody doing in the mean between time? Let me put it on its own window. Boom. So that when I pull it up, you guys see what I'm seeing. Oh no. I'm taking it. Okay, let's try this now. So for those who just joined us, we're going over this Kanye thing. You know, all of this. Let me not get distracted. All right, so you know. The chances of you seeing this is slim, yeah? You're probably going to see a black screen, but let me know if you can hear it. And then that'll just work for me.
Ask me. The niggas want 100 now. Don't ask me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you want a magazine? Let's go with it.
Let me know if you could hear it.
Remember, dude used to just make beats for people? Feel a little bit overwhelmed by this whole shit. They don't know.
Can you hear it? If you can hear it, then I'll just describe to you what's on the screen currently. But just let me know if you can hear that audio. Anybody, can you hear the audio? All right, boom. Okay, great. So I'll just play it and I'll let you know. So essentially, he's walking down 42nd Street in the city in Manhattan, and he's about to pass. Oh wait, I can see it. Hold on. and he's about to pass a magazine stand, and the filmer Cootie was asking him, does he want to get a double XL, or back in the day that was the internet, the rap thing. Does he want to get that book? And then this is what he does, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is also important. So hold on, y'all know I got to lead up to why I think it's important. Where did it go? Do 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 do.
He don't know he has that niggas. He don't listen to Flex. They're gonna do a you hit first on your boy. Whack ass me. Can't rap ass me. Should stick to track ass me. The niggas want 100 now. Don't ask me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you want a magazine that slow up? Bye. That double XL you in like. Hey. What's up, dog? I'm a little secret about me, dog. I got a little addiction, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut the go. Let me get on. Let me get the black field right there. How much? $8. $8. God damn, dog. Hey, yeah, give me a dollar. Yeah, right there. When I came out here.
Okay, so pause. I know y'all didn't see it, so if y'all do have Netflix, you could check it out. But I'm gonna let you know what just happened in that scene. So essentially, what happens in the scene, like I said, he's walking down the street and he's asking him, do you want the magazine? He says no, and then he pauses and thinks, reflectively, and he says, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I have an addiction. Okay, and his addiction is to pornography, right? This comes out later on as well, but this is early on. We're talking about the seed. Okay, we're talking about what happens before all things happen, when people brush things off as, oh, it doesn't really matter, it's not that bad, and then when it grows into a full tree, we're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it happened. It's like, bruh, it's universal laws and principles. So he buys the magazine. He asks the guy how much. He $8, and then he puts it in his little black scandal bag, we like to call it, or a plastic bag, and then he makes his way down the block and changes the subject. He actually says, I think we might have to cut this part, because again, he's very self-aware of some of the issues that he has. He said it, and this is before he does the video that we just saw, which is the You Hear It First. So this is before he's about to do You Hear It First, and he's divulging secrets to the cameraman that he has an addiction, which I think he later on comes and talks to, what's the guy name with the curly hair? What's the guy name? The radio guy? He later, or not him, he later comes on somebody's television show and still talks about that addiction. And how does that addiction now lead to this conversation that he has when he with all these different women, and essentially Kim Kardashian, which leads us to his divorce? All of this stuff is trickle down effects of things that, if we don't tend to them and you magnify them with fame and money and access, then they only get worse. Yeah. LF says what's funny is he's tripping over $8 magazines, but he sells $200 white tees. I mean, I guess this is at the point where he doesn't have it. You know what I mean? So it is funny how things change. That is funny though. Let me see here. I think he. So I wanted to bring out that. So he was aware early on that they had questioned. It seemed like R. Kelly was early. I'm not saying he's R. Kelly. I'm just saying early on, the family members were aware that there was something else going on. So sometimes when you see a super genius, as people like to say, because I found it funny in the documentary that he was mad with his friend because his friend said his friend wouldn't agree that he was a genius. Let me see if I get that part. I'm like, yo, this dude is out of control. But sometimes when you see hyper creativity, not all the time, that means that there is an excess of energy in a certain area. And if there's an excess of energy in a certain area, just like a pipe or a nozzle, there's going to be somewhere along the line that energy is being built up, where it's forcing it through this channel, if you can understand what I'm saying. And so people, oftentimes we're amazed. We're, oh my goodness, well, this person, da 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 da. We're amazed by their ability to create and this and that. But somewhere, something somewhere along the line is suffering, and it's suffering big time. So now on to this again. Like I said, I don't even think I've ever watched Keeping Up with Kardashian. I don't really know who these people are. I'm just trying to. I thought this was interesting the same way I thought R. Kelly's stuff was interesting, and I stopped to take a look. Now, in doing this research, I just realized that he was in a Brandy video because they asked him. I guess we're gonna go over it. So, how did he get or with Kim Kardashian? And the story is that she was a friend of Brandy because she was into fixing celebrity closets, and she was with, what's the next girl name? Paris Hilton. And so she started going around Hollywood, organizing celebrity closets. And this is how now she becomes friends with Brandy. And Brandy's brother is Ray J. And then down the line, she's in a relationship with Ray J. And then they do this tape that gets leaked. So you see this sequence of events. It's not like one off, but if a tape gets leaked and you already have, I'm talking about Kanye, an addiction, um, an unhealthy relationship that, with something, and this person, that's going to make that desire for that person stronger, because people will be like, well, why did he leave the fiance that he was with, that his mother approved of before she died, to get with a woman who has been debased to the world? Some people would be like, well, what's that about? And then, you have YouTubers giving all the reasons why we think it went down. But if we could step back from the story a little bit to see that the foundation was already laid to a certain degree for a certain appetite. And sometimes the people who those around us approve does not fill that appetite. So I'm going to play this video because I'm just putting a little bit of pieces together and sharing my thoughts. This video is somebody doing what happened to his ex-fiance, right? So let me play that right here and we can talk about it. And then you guys let me know your thoughts. It was a very inspirational story. I'm not saying like the man has passed on, but just to see so many things, you know what I mean? So many things. But I'll let you know overall my thoughts on the whole documentary in a minute. Oh, wait, no. Let me share my screen. I know some people are just caught up on it like, oh my goodness, this in a celebrity way and never learn anything from it. Why, people? Why? Why do we do this? Oh, full love story. Here we go. No, I'm not looking for that one. Wrong one, people. Let me go back. What happened? Here it is.
Prior to meeting Alexis, Kanye was dating his high school sweetheart, a woman named Sumeke Rainey. Their relationship got serious as time progressed, and YBF website revealed Kanye even bought her a ring. But in 2002, while dating Sumeke, he met Alexis. The YBF reports he was drawn to Alexis because she was a fashionista. You remember she was wearing Miss 60s brand jeans, and he told Harper's Bazaar he felt underdressed next to her because he had on a throwback jersey.
Pause. Sometimes people have starter mates that, like they're saying, when people who believed in you, either you reward them or you reward them by dumping them. We don't know. But people who believed in you before you became what you are. 2002, he's picking up traction. That's where we see this video where he does the interview on the, you heard it here first, MTV. So he's making strides forward, and he is looking to get upgrade, I guess. I suppose they didn't show what the high school sweetheart looked like, but now he's upgrading, right? So let's continue.
During those times, Kanye wasn't quite a household name, so he loved how smart she was when it came to business. And, according to the YBF, she was able to get him in contact with some influential people that she knew. They started dating, and she helped him create his image by styling his outfits.
So women are not the only ones who do this type of stuff. People will have you to believe that, only women do this type of being hypergamous in the thought, this person has something, this person is one step into the direction that I want to go. Somebody should do an expose in the women who helped the making of Kanye, right? Not to say that he didn't have drive, but there was a woman who helped instill that drive in him. But Yeah, so now he leaves the other one and now he gets with this Alexis girl who's into fashion, or woman.
But he reportedly called it quits in 2004 and moved on with a woman named Brooke Crittenden that same year. Brooke met Kanye when he was opening for Usher at his New York show, and she was working as a production assistant for MTV. Brooke told the Sun website that within months, she and Kanye were inseparable. He was based in Los Angeles at the time, but he bought a place in New York to be closer to her. In 2005, Kanye reportedly reunited with Alexis, but
So we see the instability, and we also see sometimes addictive personalities where there's a kind of codependent vibration going on. You meet the person, and then, and this just goes for people in general. Sometimes you think it's love. It may be the love bombing stage. It may not be love. It may be a codependent type of relationship where you absorb the person or the person absorbs you, right? And it looks like it's healthy, but in actuality is not, because the person can move on from you so quickly as if there was no value there to begin with, right? And so that's also something for us to keep in mind as we go forward.
he continued his relationship with Brooke as well. In February 2006, he attended the Grammy Awards, and as he walked down the red carpet, it was Brooke who was by his side. But Brooke knew he had other women in his life. She told The Sun Kanye was very open and honest about the other women he was dealing with, but it became too much. Brooke said, he wanted and needed me to be okay with certain things I wasn't okay with. Brooke said,
Again, there's some men and some women who cannot give you loyalty. Yeah, they can't. So therefore, all of the other things, especially if they have money, this is the Kevin Samuels approach, that the high value man, he has options, right? And Brooke was like, I'm not one of them, you understand? But I'm gonna try not to make too much jokes, but this is the thought that if the person furnishes you with a lifestyle or whatever, whatever, then you should be okay with not being the only one, or the person having options and you being one of them, right? And everybody doesn't necessarily get down like that. Go ahead, get down.
said they began arguing and things got really nasty between them. They eventually broke up sometime in 2006, and Kanye quickly moved on with Alexis. Sources told Us Weekly Kanye's mom, Donda West, really liked Alexis and she gave Kanye her blessing to make things official.
So this, he bounced back and forth to her for more than one time. So there's something going on with her and him, that he leave, then he come back, and he leave and he come back, right? So it was unstable from the beginning. But if he's trying to fill the space that the mother gives, one woman is not going to do it because the mother over invested in him, right? So he may need, I'm not saying, I don't know, but he may need a certain amount of validation externally to be able to feel like, everything's on the up and up. I don't know, possibly, but
Donda was the closest person to Kanye, and he valued her opinion. So just 6 months after attending the Grammys with Brooke, Kanye took Alexis on a trip to Capri. According to People magazine, over a lobster and pasta dinner, Kanye popped the question, and Alexis said yes. Shortly after their engagement, they invited Harper's Bazaar into Kanye's Hollywood Hills home, which they shared together. Alexis showed off her closet full of designer clothes by Stella McCartney and Rachel.
okay, so that's the part right there where we just see black and all of this extra clickers. I'm gonna just let it play, but um so she's there. She doesn't look totally there, but she's there, and I guess trying to make things work, as many people do.
Roy, and pieces from her own fashion line called Jita. While Kanye was getting ready for the release of his album entitled Graduation, Alexis was focused on debuting her clothing line at New York Fashion Week and working on ideas for their upcoming nuptials. After playing the field and having his pick of women, Kanye was ready to settle down. During an interview with GQ magazine, he said he just wanted to get married and didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He said, "It's for me, for stability in my life, and I'm so happy that I found someone that I really love." But Kanye's life went into a tailspin.
Pause. So many people pick up the story at this point that it was the death of his mother, and not putting much thought into it. I was one of those people, like, the passing of his mother, it definitely affected him, but clearly there were other things happening, as in there are other telltale signs before this point that leads up to how the death of his mother totally flips his life upside down. Um, there was something I was gonna say, and it escaped me. I guess it'll come back.
In November 2007, when his mom passed away at the age of 58 due to complications from a plastic surgery procedure. From that point on, his life and relationship with Alexis would never be the same. A friend told People magazine Kanye was going through a rough time and was putting all his focus on his upcoming Glow in the Dark tour. His friends started seeing less.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That around the time that Kanye is born, he is born under the same energy that Tupac is born. It's this, if some would say, Gemini, this very airy, whimsical, type of personality that if they're not grounded, they will fly away like a helium balloon in the wind. You know what I mean? And so looking for somebody. His mother was kind of that one that gave him the helium, but also helped ground him. And so this woman that the mother approved of would have represented, again, the approval of the mother. And so once the mother is no longer there, maybe he didn't really want him, because remember, we just see he has an addiction. He has a part of him that he does not have control of, and one particular person is not going to satisfy whatever his needs are, right? So once the mother is out the way, or the mother is no longer present, he's free to say that you're not what I wanted anyway. I don't know if that's what he said, but soon after, she's out the picture.
And less of Alexis as the months passed by, and sources added that the passing of Kanye's mother negatively affected their relationship. In April 2008, just 5 months after his mom passed away, Alexis confirmed to People magazine they had called off their engagement. She added, "It's always sad when things like this end, and we remain friends." She also wished him the best and called him one of the most talented people she had ever met. The same year he and Alexis broke.
Okay, pause. In this world of celebrity and Queen Anziga says Alexis was but clearly God saved her. Yeah, she says this is the most I've ever listened to anything about him. He was a client of mine once for the Dave Letterman show. I also did his mom's makeup a couple of times as a private client. Feel free if you want to come through and talk about your experiences, because sometimes, you know, we see people, and if you incline towards them, or if you're a fan, then people learn all about them. And if you're not, it's like, you don't really pay attention. But like I said, what is life if we're not learning? You know what I mean? If we're not learning, if this can happen here, it can happen in other places where people are not necessarily celebrated. But the value of looking at places where people are celebrated is that it's more pronounced and it's more clear to understand what has happened. It's like, for instance, for people to go study ancient Egypt, or people to go study biblical times, they look at figures that were celebrated, and they try to see, okay, what life could have been like, because that's where the most information oftentimes is going to be left on record. So the pharaohs is going to have more information left on record, and David is going to have more information left on record than the everyday person that walks by. You know what I mean? So, and then what do people do? They try to read those stories, they try to revisit those things so that they can understand that time period, what was happening, and any lessons that we can learn as we move along. So for me, I think it has value in that, and to show you how people are willing to look beyond uh, real red flags because of someone's talent. The elder who I used to host with, he used to call it bright privilege. So because you're bright and because you're talented, then people are willing to overlook some real serious deficiencies, which is not a good look, because ultimately it injures the person. Yeah.
Broke up, Kanye moved on with Amber Rose. And Amber didn't waste any time throwing shade at Alexis. According to Vibe, during a radio interview, Amber said, "You see Kanye's other ex? He was with her for 6 years, took her to the same places, and no one even remembers her name now."
This is one mistake that oftentimes people make. You think you're better than the one that came before, not realizing it's the person. He attracted you and he attracted them. And it's the person who may have the issue. But oftentimes the new woman comes like, yeah, I can do you better than she. I can do you better than she can. And they're doing the absolute most. And then you end up in the same way the other one did, right? And so he has a whole pile of necks. He has a whole pile, but that's reflective of the person. There's something going on with them.
Years later, Alexis addressed Amber's comment by telling Vibe she wasn't seeking any kind of attention, and following their breakup, she retreated from the spotlight because that's what she chose to do. After dating someone like Kanye, Alexis admitted it was nice to have her regular life back. She said she was a mom and she liked going out with her son without anyone recognizing her. While Alexis stated she had been approached to appear on a reality show a few times, she was tempted by the offer but decided it wasn't the right route for her. Because being a mom is very important to her, she wasn't comfortable with the lifestyle and didn't want her image to be portrayed in a negative way. Following their breakup,
So everybody's not a clout chaser. Sometimes people are like, oh, they just that's not everyone's objective. We erroneously believe that some people, this person could have loved him, and he had other ambitions. And so when we see where they end up, you got somebody who wanted you maybe for very different reasons, right? And you were blinded by it because you had addictions or because you had other things that were motivating you.
she continued working on her fashion line, and it was her passion for clothing that kept her going. She also told Vibe she was looking forward to having a big family and 3 more kids in the near future. Although she claimed to love her life away from the spotlight, Alexis made headlines again in February 2016. She posted a photo of herself wearing some clear shoes, and later on, Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian was spotted wearing a similar style. With the belief that Kim was biting her style, Alexis took to Twitter and wrote, them clear shoes looking real familiar. That same month, Kanye, Kim, Amber, and Amber's husband Wiz Khalifa had a social media war. Things got heated and real personal when Amber tweeted that Kanye enjoyed having fingers placed inside a certain area of his body. And guess who threw themselves into the mix? Alexis, of course. She co-signed Amber's statement by confirming she had a similar experience while dating Kanye. These days,
Okay, so that was interesting, and I'm not even going to front. And I think it was interesting because of the way that they showed Jamie Foxx. Now, during this, with the questionable male behavior, and during this documentary that Cootie, I believe his name's shot, Jamie Foxx is present. One of the time early on in Kanye's career when he couldn't get Rockefeller to agree to fund what he was doing, he had to find any way he could to record his first album. And one of the songs he was recording in Jamie Foxx, who had a studio in his house. And there are many circulating questionable behavior about Jamie Foxx. So for these two women who are seemingly at odds with one another to come to a consensus on this type of questionable behavior, no, you know what I mean? No, this is interesting. Yeah, no, I go back to there is something to think about. But that was what I had on that, is that the person doesn't seem to be able to sustain a relationship for any length of time emotionally to be present, because there may be, like I said, an abundance of energy being expelled in a certain direction that doesn't leave a lot of space for uh, that connection, if you can understand. Basically, let me see if there's anything else I have to share. Energetically, right? I always say this, and you can look some of this up, is that as we're forming, as we're growing, there are different parts within us that gets energized. Yeah. Some people look at the chakra system and go off the deep, and there's different parts within us that goes energized. If we look at the way a plant grows, all of the energy at first goes towards establishing the roots. You can look at a plant. You plant the plant, you plant the little bean, all the energy goes towards establishing the roots and getting grounded. From there, the energy goes to shooting up the stalk. From there, the energy goes into the first leaves. From there, the energy goes into the secondary leaves. From there, the energy goes into bearing the fruit. After the fruit come the energy, and within the fruit is the seed, and the process begins again. Okay. And then the plant dies off and a new plant is born. That's us. We are fruit of the womb. There's nothing very different, except for a lot of the stuff, the way it's happening. We can see how it's happening in the physical, where we grow, we're a little baby, we're adolescent, then we grow, and then we become a teenager, then we can bear, it happens in that way. But emotionally, internally, it also happens. And now I almost forgot why I started explaining that. Oh yeah. So in Kanye's situation, he seems to have an abundance of creative energy that's manifesting through certain parts of that process. One is in his throat chakra or energy center. He always says, I have something to say. I want to talk. I want to have something to say. So therefore he wasn't satisfied with producing for other people, for them to say something. He ultimately saw that as an opening for him to talk. He has something to say. And when he says it, we see the duplicitous nature. One minute he's talking about something constructive and righteous, and the other minute he's talking about something debased. And basically, he's giving us his internal struggle. Now, when did he become addicted to pornography? Let me see if I can get that video. We don't know. But definitely that would be in the sacral, or that would be in the part that has to do with emotional connection. Am I missing anybody? That energy center, emotional connection, after we get physically established in the earth, like our root system, we're safe and secure. The next thing that begins to develop, or your awareness of your um, sexual reproductive organs and emotions and feelings and first crush and first love and all of those things. So if he had an injury during this time where this energy center is being balanced and growing and doing what it needs to do, then he's going to automatically have an issue with connecting. Even though we see the relationship with his mother is more of the giver in the relationship. There's a part in the, let me see if I can get it. There's a part that the mother tells a story when he goes to preschool. Let me see if I could get it. Where she says she drops him off, and he says, I don't need you. I'm going to get that because she could say it better than I can. Hold on. How's everybody doing? Can you still hear me? Can I be heard? Can I be heard? Let me go back to this part in the conversation where they're sitting in front. If you're wondering, they're sitting in front of his childhood home, and he's talking to his mother. So let me play that part. I'm willing to bet something happened to him from about 7 to 14, and he has an internal conflict that he cannot really connect. I think one of the woman Kim's problem is she's been furnished physically with everything, but emotionally he is not connecting. Well, among other things, because I don't know them, because they seem to be wild too. Wait a minute. Oh, here. Okay, I'm gonna play this so you guys can hear his mother's conversation, and then I'm gonna open up the mic. Okay. Let me open this up here. Is this helpful? Has this been helpful for anybody out there? Okay. Let me close some of these windows. All right, let me share this and play this. Share screen, share audio, window, Netflix. All right. This is now Cootie. This is back in what, 2000, I think, 2. It's early on, and he is following now the mother and Kanye to go to his childhood home. So that's what's happening here.
Mama West said you can stay on the ground and be in the air all at the same time. Maybe that's why she took us back to where everything started. Well, it brings back some memories. It's crazy. You must have been so little. We used to play football right here. You throw the ball up, and whoever gets the ball, you try your best to kill him. I'm going to show you the bounds of the killer man. You ain't want to hit this right here or this right here. Well, I definitely cracked my head on a couple of times. crazy how different it looked, because it seemed so much bigger to me whenever I used to picture it. You know what I'm saying? This right here is I used to have that mirror, and I used to just practice like in front of it, just doing whatever it was I wanted to do. Yo, our dog, we called him Genius because he could get out of anything. Actually, we built him a pen back there, but he used to just figure out how to get up. It got to the point you couldn't just leave him in a pen. You had to pin him up, put a chain around him. Yeah. He's so smart. Everybody in our family is smart, even the dog. That's right.
So that foundation, that part of you smart, no matter what anybody says, that's in him, you know. And it's funny that he fought with his friend about being a genius, but he says that he used to call the dog genius because of the dog's ingenuity, right?
You had a bedroom in here?
Yeah, this is your bedroom.
Dude, I think I could touch both of the walls right here.
If you're wondering, they're just showing pictures of him as a child. And I could attest because my grandparents still live at our childhood home. And when you go back there as an adult, everything looks so small. And when you're little, you're like, wow, you thought it was big. The staircase looked big. Everything looked so big. And when I remember when I moved back, I was like, my goodness, I don't remember it being this small. That's just, I don't know.
I get some lint on my hammer?
Look, where? Oh, yeah, right here.
How was Kanye coming up?
You know, Kanye was always self-absorbed in a way.
His mother said he was always self-absorbed. Listen to his mother. She was there, right?
You went to kindergarten from here. They picked you up from right across the street. And I came to kindergarten one day, and you looked out in the hall and saw me, and you were on the top of the sliding board. And you said, I don't need you. Do you remember that? You did. You were on every talent show. Remember? Every talent show.
So that's the part I wanted, where his mother is very aware of the child that he was, whatever energy created him. So later on, when he's doing this presidential run and he's believing what she said, and you can be anything you want to be, and he divulges that his father would have aborted him if his mother didn't save him, and then he goes on to say that his first daughter would have been aborted because he was in the same vein as his father, that he couldn't, he was busy with his life to have a child right now, and that Kim Kardashian saved him. A lot of times that stuff goes over our head because it's politicized, not realizing, like I'd like to talk about, that this generational curse or this revisiting of the same energy, it comes back and gives you an opportunity to either resolve it, face it, deal with it, and transmute that energy. Right? So at what point during his growth would his mother have told him that story? Right? That would have shaped how he looked at her, how he saw her, how he interfaced with her, and conversely, how he interfaced with his father. The story, our familiar story, if we don't know it, we tend to repeat it. Even when we don't try to repeat it, we repeat it because that energy, I like to try to explain it as a cloud. In this electronic world, we have clouds. We have electronic clouds. If you take the picture, it's uploaded to the cloud, right? You don't see it. You can't see it, but it's there. And if you have the right password to tap into it, it then downloads back to your phone. Apple, Android, Google, you can upload things to clouds now. Energetically, they didn't just get that concept or that technology from themselves. That's how things work. So energetically, those our ancestors upload information, good, bad, and indifferent, to the cloud that is within our network, so to say, since we all technologied out. And let me put the link in the box because it's 2:30. I'm gonna wind down. We upload information to our cloud, so that action of his father and his mother and that story is uploaded to his cloud, and when the time come when he's on that same frequency, it gets downloaded, and now you have the opportunity, whether you know or not know, you're faced with similar situations. Now what are you going to do? Right? And so in that moment, he is aware that on the topic of abortion, right, he ended up on the wrong side of the fence inadvertently. And the people were like, "Oh, he's crazy. He's this. He's that. He's all this stuff." And I'm like, "Are we not seeing what's happening here? And how this is not just a story about Kanye West. This is a story about what happens in our own lives, and how a lot of our stories are on repeat until we realize, oh, this thing is looping." I'll put the link in the box if anybody want to share their thoughts. Let me see if I have anything else. That. Oh yeah, their little love story here. Let me go ahead and click this right here. I got one more thing to share. Just putting together the pieces. What did I say? What did I promise? Kanye, Karma, King, and who? And okay, so I'm talking about Karma, and now let's do the last part, and then we can wind this up. Do 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 do. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can see any. I like to say connecting the dots. That's what I like to call it, but you can call it what you want. Let's see here.
2002 or 2000 him, yeah, I think in 2002 or 2003 he was recording a song with Brandy, and I was her friend, and vividly remember, you know, hanging out with him, and I remember he was asking his friends, like, who is this Kim Kardashian, and he like didn't know what my name was.
I remember seeing pictures with her. I think she was in Australia with Paris Hilton.
So that would mean, based on the little timeline that I do know, this is before the Ray J incident. This is before that time, which I had to look it up. They say it's 2007 when that comes out. So this is before that time that, okay, he sees this girl and he wants to know who she is. And again, we know he has an addiction. So therefore, once he sets his mind on, and he has determination. Yeah. So once you set your mind on something, especially him, you know, it doesn't matter how long, he's going to go after her or it or whatever it is that he wants.
Or something, and reading her name and telling my friends, like, man, have you ever seen Kim Kardashian? Well, I remember I had this TV show that I was working on that had like puppets around it, and we were doing this skit where I was playing like a Star Wars character, and I wanted her to be Princess Leia because she was my dream girl. And we shot the scene, and I was able to, you know, start talking to her. And I just remember, you know, just speaking with her, and just, you know, I mean, I was in, you know, love with her before I even got to, you know, ever talk to her.
So that's interesting that he's in love with her before he gets to talk to her. That means he's in love with the idea of who she is. Because if he never talked to her, then you don't really know who she is. You're just observing her, who she is from the outside. I think something else that is notable is that he brings her on a TV show. Look at what I'm talking about. This is what I talk about connecting dots. He says he was doing a TV show and he brought her on. Well, the same guy presently, what's his name? Y'all forgive me with these names. The Saturday Night Live guy who she's with now brought her. She's on a TV show much similar to the role that she played here some 20 years prior, before she got with Kanye. The same thing. Karma comes back again. Here she is on this television show, right, with him, the scene we shot. And then let me put it's similar. Hold on. Saturday Night Live, of which he helped her to get ready for. They say. So they say. Hold on. Wait a minute. Saturday Night Live. Hold on. Let me. For connecting the dots so we can see there's no coincidences. Hold on one second. Right, the Aladdin skit. So we're going to do it. Here we go. Here we go. So even for her, it's a level of karmic return. Yeah, that's his name, Pete. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me put a pause on this one. Take a screenshot of this. Okay, this is 2000 whatever, 2, 4, whatever she just said. And now I'm going to share. Stop sharing this just for 1 second. I see Queen is in the spot. I'm gonna let you come through, and then I just want to share for there. And here she is in a similar, in a very similar way, and she ends up being with this guy, right? So in an appearance, working together with them in a certain capacity, she initially said that one things she liked about him is that he had the ability to make her laugh. That was to Kanye. And now that this guy is a comedian, he has the ability to make her laugh. So she's repeating, if she's not mindful, this guy may have mental issues as well. And she's repeating, and then she got with Kanye coming out of relationship, and Kanye was this guy. And I think to a certain degree, he's feeling a kind of way because she started talking to him before she was fully divorced, and now she's talking to this Pete guy before she was fully divorced. So there's a level of deja vu happening in this whole conversation that they themselves need to actually acknowledge and be like, you know what, I think I did this already. I think this happened already. If we don't realize, that's why I said everything loops. Everything loops. It may reappear. The lesson is going to continue to reappear until we learn it, until we've learned what we come to learn, and then we can let it go.
And we shot the scene, and I was able to start talking to her, and I just remember just speaking with her, and just I mean, I was in love with her before I even got to ever talk to her.
Kanye has been in love with Kim since the minute he saw her. And I remember I was there. He was staring at Kim like she was Cleopatra, and he did not stop looking at her. And when he just always through that. He would always say to me, "I know this is something your sister has to go through, but I'm going to be here waiting."
After my breakup, I was feeling really low, and
that would mean that the other women were fillers. Because if this is 2002, he gets with the ex-fiance in 2002 and breaks up a number of times, then the other women were fillers for who he really had his heart set on until the opportunity presented itself for him to be there, quote unquote.
Down, and he was like, just come to Paris and see my fashion show. And so he jokes that he put on this whole fashion show just to get a date with me. And so I went there and I stayed with him. That's where we started dating. And I swear, from the moment I landed and was there, I fell madly in love with him. And I thought, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? This is what real life is like, and love and fun and real support. This is what it is.
I look at my wife as the earth.
Okay, so that's that. Love bombing, you mean, lady? Love bombing. You got some stuff going on with you too. Love bombing, lady. Okay, so in order for this to work on both sides, you have to have a certain element that certain deficiencies and certain things on both sides, not just one side. She wouldn't have fell if certain things weren't present within her, right? It's the same thing with us. We'd be like, oh, the person was such a narcissist. Okay, so then what are you? If you keep getting with narcissists, then one has to ask the question, are you the innocent bystander who just happens to fall for narcissists, or do you have a component that makes you a magnet or vulnerable or attracted to narcissistic type people, right? Questions we must ask. Oh, he does. Yeah, India says it has already been established that Pete suffers from depression. So there we go. We have similar elements. So that's kind of, like I said, it took interest because of the what do you call it, mental health component, and as well as the documentary that was done really well. There's some things to learn. I would say his stick-to-itiveness, his confidence in going for what you want, but on the flip side, not realizing that everything comes with a price. Everything comes at a cost. And I don't know necessarily if he fully weighed the cost of what it is that he was going for, because now we see that if you wanted something and you got it, then you should be present in that moment and glad. But if you still dissatisfied once you get it, that indicates that you paid too much. It's like you buy something but you pay too much, so you kind of have buyer's remorse a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. That's my overall what I got from the documentary. I think it's worth a watch. It has some valuable things in there. And so with that said, we have Queen Zinga in the spot. Welcome to the conversation.
Good day.
Good day, good day. Welcome.
How are you? This is
Yeah,
very this
yeah,
is very interesting. I like what you just said about buyer's remorse.
yeah.
You pay a high price. You can afford it. You can afford it, but when you really think about it, is that what you really wanted? Or did you just want it because you can afford it?
Right.
And to a lot of men, women are almost inanimate objects.
This
You
is
know,
true.
you love your car, you love your bike, you love that Rolex watch, you love, and you miss the humanity in loving a woman if you're not mature enough. And so the buyer's remorse comes with, I shouldn't have bought that watch. I really like this one.
Right.
Really, really at the end of the day, but I wanted it because impulsive. Part of the bipolar is the impulsiveness. There was something you talked about regarding the download, the input. My mom used to call it genetic distal memory. And genetic distal memory is really, in a nutshell, it's epigenetics. It's the thing that's inside of us, it's our DNA that has us repeat certain cycles, which we call generational curses. Yeah.
No, that's absolute facts. That is absolute facts. And it gets unlocked when it doesn't always get unlocked. It's like, to me, my experience, it's a password. It gets unlocked at a certain time, or in when
Yes.
you're on a certain frequency. When you
Yes.
match or you resonate with something, then it unlocks and then appears the test. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
You're
then
right.
now you have to navigate through it. So some people be like, "Oh, that was my mother, that was my father, that's not me." Maybe you're not at that space and time. So even in his situation, when he came to that same space and time as his father, right? And that genetic memory unlocks and he receives that download to where he could make a choice. He made the same choice,
Yes.
right? And Kim ends up making the same choice that his mother made, which is preserve the life of the child, right? I think
Yes.
at that moment he realized, like, wow, you understand? And then that's what people were experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
watching him go through. And then because we're not understanding what we're seeing, the person is all these other things and really not getting what we can get from, or on to even understand at least that this happens every day.
Yes. In all of your choices and all of your life choices. I'm facing that right now. I'm looking at, my personal life and my parents and the work of my parents. And I just said this last night to a friend of mine. I'm continuing the work of my parents unconsciously, but it's also genetically my makeup to do certain things. So as I'm looking at my life, I'm set, and I'm in my 50s. So I can say, I've been through several things, that's 5 decades of living, 5+ decades of living. So you learn a lot in between. And some things come to you, wherever you are at that point in your life, the lesson to be learned. My entire career has been a repeat of what my parents were doing, only upgraded, you see? So, if he's conscious on any level, and if Kim is conscious on any level, they will receive this message and not repeat it because you've already done it.
Agreed. Agreed. For those who just joined us, welcome to the discussion. I just went over my thoughts on the documentary. It was 3 parts. I think it was worth the watch. And for me to sit down on 3-part documentary, there you don't know. So yeah, it was definitely worth the watch. It's 20 years in the making, and that's something to say for itself. You know, that somebody videoed you and nobody knew who you were and knew intrinsically that you were going to make it. And it's interesting to see how Kanye disconnects from even the guy who was there from the beginning and loses his way and then eventually circles back to the same people. They say the people you pass on the way up is the same ones you're going to see on
That's
your way back
right. That's right.
down.
And the thing of it is I told you that I worked with Kanye. He was one of my clients at one point, and his mother was one of my private clients. Um, my recollection of him, I'm a type A personality, and I've been around genuine geniuses. So to me, when I hear people throw the word genius around with respect to who he is, I don't see that, because I've been around real genius. And real genius is not only gifted, but they're gifted in many areas and accomplished in those areas. And they also have vision, future vision. They're almost like the oracles, they're prophets. Prince was a genius. Michael Jackson was a genius. Their work will supersede their life and death. So people like that have an effect on society in a different kind of way. And I do think that, clearly Kanye is influential. Um, this generation doesn't really know what real genius looks like. Um, and he's the closest to it. So I can say, he's influential. He definitely is. I'm not going to take that from him. As well as Kim. Kim has no talent whatsoever other than her physicality, which is all about her sexuality. So I think that once she gets older, where is her ability going to lie? She really has to find herself. And I think that her having these children may excavate that ability in her. It's a possibility.
But
But Kanye and I didn't get along well. I
oh,
had to tell I had to tell
I
him about
can't
himself.
imagine. I can't imagine Queen and Singer. So tell me.
But he was to his credit, he was very apologetic, because I did a finger wagging at him, and I'm not somebody that backs down. So if you come for me, you better be ready for the pushback of a lifetime. And I'm not a respecter of persons. I respect God.
So
So
so was there just a disagreement in the direction of the job that you were doing, or
well,
was it
he
just
was
in
he was
general?
being disrespectful. He was being disrespectful, and he was being disrespectful to me. And I had to call him on that. I don't give a rip who's around. I have contracts with the labels that you're signed on. So, and Zynga will always work, whether it's with you or with someone else. And I've worked with legends who are genius. So when he approached me, I had to tell him about himself. I'm not impressed. I've seen better, and
Oh my,
you need to behave
wait, no
better.
man, you have to give it this story
But
now.
I didn't know that he was dealing with bipolar, and there was something that was conscious in his head, and maybe he saw me as a mother figure at that moment that made him come back and say, you know what, Nzinga, I apologize. I'm sorry. I should not have said that. And I said, yes, you should not have said that. Now, remember this day, remember this lesson, to learn to filter your words. Filter. This is why you have publicists here. Publicist's job is not only to present you to the public, but they're also to train you about how to answer questions in public forums. So you get trained by media training. Like I look all over the internet and everybody's got a YouTube channel, which should never have been, because a lot of these people do not have media training. So they don't know how to speak. They don't know how to address their audience. They're hypersensitive. All of these things
So,
that does not make you media ready.
hold on for 1 second. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We're talking about Kanye Kim and the documentary. So we have Queen Zinga. She's a makeup artist. She has done makeup how many years now? Let them know a little bit, so that, and she's talking about her experience. And people have experience on good days and bad days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody would say it's the person's personality, or they were just having a bad day. So would you say it's his personality, or that he was just having a bad day?
Well, I think it was a combination of the fact that he was young. You're blowing up. Everybody's talking about you. You're now on the David Letterman show as a featured act, and you're going to sit down and interview with him. His life, and I've seen it before in the celebrity realm, is that your world becomes different, and everything and everyone comes at you differently. So you're having to juggle what you're seeing. Are people really there for you as a person, or you the artist? They're infatuated with the artist. That's what fans are. They're infatuated with these people. So I think it was a combination for him that day. Maybe, he may have had an experience prior to. um I don't know what brought that on. But he was apologetic because I made him apologize.
Was it in
Um,
front of a lot of people, or was it?
there were people there, there were people present. Um, and it took him a moment, to come to that conclusion. And then he finally said it. I guess he tossed it around in his head. And then he said, okay, let me just break down and say it. But I think that may have been it, and it's a possibility that he was dealing with a bipolar back then. Um,
Well,
I've had several clients who are in the entertainment industry who are bipolar.
and just to say that, like I said, as I was listening to one of the early interviews, I think he was aware, uh or what other people were saying, like according to what he was rapping about, that they told his mother that he was either ADHD or bipolar. So I think there was a
Mhm.
level of awareness that
Yes, there
wasn't put to the
is.
forefront until now, you know what I mean?
Well, I
So
think I think you pointed it out in the start of your
right.
tape, was that he went back, he was rapping, and then he says, "Oh no, rewind, let me do this again."
Mm-hmm.
So he does have a filter.
Right,
It
he does
do-
have a
it
filter.
doesn't it doesn't dawn on him as he's saying it in that
Right.
first instance.
Right.
But when he replays what he's saying, then he goes and he says, let me recant that.
So about your experience with his mother, what would you say of her personality? Was she, or your experience with her?
She was like any other mother.
Right.
She was very proud of her son. Um, Black women, when they have their sons, if they are worthy of being mothers, because we talked about the toxic mothers the other day. I heard
Yeah.
you talk about that.
Right.
But she was the kind of woman that was very well educated, but she was also nurturing, and she saw his abilities and helped facilitate that. So she was a good mother in that sense of the word. Now, was she overindulgent? I think maybe she was.
I think so.
Some women see their male children as the second coming of Christ, and they treat them as the second coming of Christ. And also knowing that if it's a black male, there's a certain way that you have to treat your black sons, because in the world is not going to treat your black son as much as you love him. They're not going to love him.
But I think, in addition to what you're saying, if we add in the element of, like you said, you're absolutely right. Many mothers overindulge their sons because of the conditions that are in the greater society. And if you add to that what the people are saying, beyond being this melanated male, that he may have behavioral problems or he may have mental, she's, you know what I mean, and she's highly educated, then I think she would put some extra sauce on it, if that be the case, to be like, don't listen to them, you can do anything you want to do, you know what I mean, you could be anything you want
Mm-hmm.
to be. And I think that possibly, based on what I'm hearing, could have played into why she went so hard to
Yeah. Well,
convince
she
him.
had to counter,
Right.
her. I'm just thinking in her mindset was that she had to counteract what society will eventually do to her son.
Right.
So when he's faced with these things, and I think good black mothers do that with all of their children. You give your children ammunition so that when they go out into the world, they can deal with the world who is unkind. The world will not love you the way your parents do, if they love you. So
There,
you have to give your children ammunition. And
and
I think he works with that ammunition in such a unique way, uh you know that it works for him. It has made him influential.
right.
You cannot deny that. However, how he's operating, and maybe he'll see this when he's a more mature and older man, maybe he will get this lesson, because most men don't get the lessons until later in their lives, when they've made a lot of mistakes, and not taking accountability for all of those mistakes. Then you're more mature later on in your life as a man, and you will see the evidence of your choices, and to recant them, and you'll say, you know what, that was not a good thing. I can't erase it now, but I did it.
Right. I think at this point, like you're saying, what's happening now, sometimes major separations, major life events make you take a look at. But based on what I was seeing throughout the documentary, his answer to many of this is just to keep working, right?
Yes.
Keep
Well,
working,
you
keep
have to
working,
stay
keep working.
relevant as a rapper.
Right.
A rapper's life longevity for a rapper is, 40 and you're done.
Right.
It's almost like being a basketball player or any athletic individual. They give you a certain time frame, and then you have to retire your jersey. So, for him, I believe it's about him partially staying relevant, but also he is suffering from a form of trauma. He is. It was traumatic for him to have lost his major cheerleader that was an unconditional cheerleader. See, your wife is not going to be an unconditional cheerleader because she's your wife, not your mother.
Mm. So, I mean, in addition to that trauma, is it fair to say that celebrity in itself can be traumatic? Like, be-
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you think about it, you and I are private people. I work behind the scenes.
right,
I've been in my industry for 35 years and worked with some of the biggest names in entertainment, and still do. So when you see clients, and they're regular people really at the end of the day, but they are bombarded, and their lives are put on
public display.
blast.
Yeah.
There are things that you don't want you and I don't want to be on the internet,
Right.
but you and I are not celebrity in that way. And
Right.
we treat, especially here in America, we treat celebrities as royalty. Because
And,
in Europe has royalty. They have people who fill those positions as royals, and then they have their celebrities.
I, I did a conversation, and let me know your thoughts on this. I think I did it a while ago, talking about the connections for me between celebrity and idolatry.
Mm,
Here they
wow.
even call them idols,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
And so that whole when you make something into an idol, you put it up for display. You put it up to be seen. You know what I mean? So to a certain degree, the way that the people handle the celebrity is as one would handle an idol. You have access to it. You can do what you want to it, and it can't do anything back to you, right? And I think when people get to that place where people feel entitled to everything that's going on in your life, is because they have objectified you, and you've become now a thing. Like you said about how men objectify women to a certain degree, celebrity becomes objectified and you become a thing and not necessarily a person who has feelings, emotions, and things of that nature. What are your thoughts about that?
I think you've said it all. I think you really put it. It was very well said. Um, we and celebrity, being a celebrity is traumatic, because the more popularity there is, the less humane and human you become
Mm-hmm.
to people who are viewing you. You become an inanimate object.
Mm-hmm.
It's like worshiping the golden calf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the calf is made of gold. We worship gold because it has value on the financial market, but also it's a thing of art. It's beautiful. You want to put it on your wall in your home, which we do, you know, with posters and pictures of celebrities in our
Mm.
homes. We do that. So yes, it is a form of idolatry. Um, yeah,
I
you
just
said
want
it.
I don't know if you saw the whole documentary or saw any of
I've
it.
not seen it at all.
Oh, okay. What I find interesting is that in the beginning, you want it, right? It's life. So I'm not just talking about Kanye. I'm talking about oftentimes us. We want this thing because we have an image in our mind, like he had an image of Kim before he met her, what this thing is going to be for us. So he pursued celebrity. He pursued um being known, right? Because in his mind, this is what I'm going to be. This is what I was called to be. And then when you get on the other side, you see him yelling at the cameraman at 4 o'clock in the morning, telling him to get out my face. You know what I mean? Because the reality, the promise and the reality is not always the same thing. And just to see how long and how much you wanted something, and then you realize maybe this is not what I wanted. You understand what I'm saying? Back to that buyer's remorse. Maybe I wanted some elements of this, but not it in its in totality. And the reality is, oftentimes you can't separate the two, right? For people to know all who you are, they're gonna know all who you are. It,
Well, you said it. A photographer shooting your picture at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning, you should be in bed sleeping like a normal person,
mm,
but you're not, and you're on display. Clearly, what that says is you're on display 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of your life.
to be fair, at that particular time, he was in his garage.
Oh, okay.
To
Mm,
be fair, he
mm.
was in his garage.
Yeah, he was
And
at home. Mm. Yeah, but see, you're invading his privacy.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so, so, where do we draw the line
There is no
between?
line.
Yeah, well, where do we draw the line between my being a celebrity, which is performing for you, and then
Mm,
living my personal life, which is with my wife and my children.
right.
You have to draw the line, because my personal life should not be your entertainment. My entertaining you is me doing my songs.
Right. There was a when I was on, like I said, I did some videos back a while ago, and just looking at celebrity culture in America, like you said, oftentimes a little bit different in other places. But early on, the PR people, the Spingalis, the people, they began to wed what you were doing off screen and on screen, so that they can always keep the celebrity relevant even between projects. So it's this type of culture is a byproduct of Hollywood, right? And if I could get back that video, I will, and how they created this appetite for your favorite on-screen actor or actress to follow their lives and what they were doing. And so that was something that was cultivated. It didn't just like, oh yeah, I want to stalk you. It was something that
Yes,
they
but I also
cultivated.
think that it's different in this era, because when you look at old Hollywood, they gave you a little bit of their personal lives. But now, we're hearing stories from back then that were never printed
That's also true.
in newspapers. Oh, they were a flaming such and such, and they did X, Y, and Z drugs, and the Hollywood studios would never allow that. They
That's
had
also
a
right. So
reign on that.
they kind of allowed what they wanted to come out versus, but
Yes, they
today
put they
you.
put a hold on it,
So would you
because they
say
were building the image, because to them this was Marilyn Monroe is our product. And so if
right?
Marilyn goes out and she's doing drugs, and she's sleeping with so and so, and she's doing this, the media would never get the majority of that story. They would curtail it before it came out. But now we live in a culture where everybody thinks that being transparent
Right.
is so important, that your life, you're living the Truman Show. What is so important about my next door neighbor that I need to know all of their business? There's nothing left to the imagination. Young women today are wearing less clothing, and wondering why men are treating them a certain kind of way. It's how you're presenting. Do you leave any form of mystery for them to come and be fascinated by you?
So what I'm hearing is overexposure, essentially.
Overexposure. Everything in this era, to me, what I'm seeing is overexposure. I'm watching you eat. You're taking pictures of your food. You're taking pictures of you in the bathtub. You're taking pictures of yourself in the bathroom. Which they call selfies. To me, is the dumbest thing ever, because everybody's bathroom. What are you doing? I mean,
Yo,
it's
it's
ridiculous.
she said, "What are you doing?" For
It's
those who just
ridiculous.
welcome to the conversation. We just chopping it up at the end. I already did my little presentation in the beginning, and we just chopping it up at the end while we wind down and just seeing where culture has gotten us.
But
Where,
we're a culture of voyeurs now.
yeah, voyeuristic. That's what I
Yeah.
said.
So
Voyeuristic.
nobody can say mind your business effectively, because you're
and
putting
and
all of your business out there,
and
beloved. What do you mean mind my business?
I find that funny and interesting. Shout out to LF, he's in the spot. Is that exactly onto what you're speaking to? After you've overexposed yourself because you want it to be relevant, because the people have a greater appetite, right, for other people's business, and then they ask about your business, and then you say mind your business, but bro, you just told everybody all of your business. So, and like
Right.
that to me is kind of weird. Welcome LF to the conversation, and feel free to share your thoughts.
Hi, LF.
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing?
How
We
I,
you?
good.
I, I'm all right. I'm all right. I don't know where y'all in the conversation. I'm like 25 minutes behind because I'm in and out of the truck and stuff like that. But I
Okay.
know this. I don't. I'm sorry for sidetracking the whole conversation, but I watched that I keep on want to say Twitter swindler, right? The Tinder swindler is I
Yeah,
can't
I
say it
can't
right.
even say it either. It's a tongue
Yeah,
twister.
yeah. I watched it, and you know what? I can't even fault that guy, man. Honestly, if you think
What?
about it, you will hold on a second. When you think about it, look, I go on dating sites online sometimes too, right? And the stuff that I see on these dating sites with women my age, it's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like they'll flat out just be like, well, you got to list your interests. Their interests will be money, 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 and money. And then you look in the description, it'll be their Cash App. So you already know what that's about. I'm dead serious. Well, that's what they do on the dating sites for women my age,
Wait,
at least.
there's Cash App on a dating site?
No, they'll put their cash tag on there so that you can send them money.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I
What does
agree with
that
you on
have
that
to
point.
do with me trying to get to know you?
Just think about it. But anyways, so look,
Hmm.
these women, there's no finesse in that whatsoever. The lengths that this man went to, I gotta take my hat off to him. You know what I mean? That's some
I
ingenuity
can't with
right there.
Ella.
You know, I'm serious though. Look, the stuff that y'all can just be straightforward with it. We can't do all that. We gotta come with the elaborate. This man is a genius. If he were to apply that type of, thinking towards something positive, this man could save the world, man. Honestly, I think we shouldn't be
Yo,
so harsh on the guy.
wait a minute, Ella.
What's up? You don't
LF
agree
is
with me?
full of crap right now.
No, it's
Ella,
the
hold
truth.
on.
It's the truth. Look, we
Wait, wait.
we men have to have game. Y'all don't have
Yo,
to have
so
game. Y'all
so
just
tell me
pretty.
something, Ella.
Well, that's
What's
true
up?
because some of you men don't have the looks. So you have to have
No,
some
we
game.
ugly. We all ugly. We just
Okay,
varying
so wait
levels of
now.
ugly.
So wait now. And for those who just joined, we're going to sidebar a little bit
He said
because
we
this is
all ugly.
funny. This is a continuation of a conversation we had about the Tinder slit. The Tinder
Yeah,
Swindler.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a crazy name. But so you think that the story he made up about being um a billionaire's son, that was game? That was
Man, that's creative. I couldn't have came up with that. That man was creative. You can't say that he wasn't creative
yeah,
though.
son.
He, with
Oh,
the with
father.
the but with the busted head pick and then like the pictures like I first of all I was the whole time I was thinking like if I really like somebody would I involve you in like some stress in
Right,
my life to stress you out? You know what I mean?
right.
Like those women didn't think about that. They were just like, oh my gosh, I love this man. He's sharing his
But
life.
no,
Nah, man. Like if I really
but
loved you,
he did go to some
what's
lengths.
up?
That, like you said, the picture with they got their head busted, and that dude is criminal though. LF, that's criminal. Like, who sits down and thinks
Hmm.
of that? No.
And that, it is criminal, but I'm just saying it's like criminal mastermind genius level. Like you talking about
Yeah,
music,
he was a
right?
criminal
This
mastermind.
dude is a genius too, right? He's a genius. I think we should just appreciate the genius.
No, he's not a G. LF. India says it's exploited. I agree with India. It was exploited, but if we understand the nature of the exploitation, I think that's what LF is speaking to. All fun and joke aside, right? The nature of it is understanding the nature of women to a certain degree. He met the women where they were. He makes sure he primed. He didn't just go in there with the busted head pictures. He primed them for a good couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, he
and
did.
and and was attentive to them, and responded to their messages, and met their emotional needs, and then played on that emotional need, right? But what, for money and for gain. So I don't think he was a genius. If one, he's an evil genius. I mean, or he's just good at what he did. He perfected it, I suppose.
I mean, I've never seen like scammers usually come up with the same script. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm a veteran or I'm overseas, and oh, you know what I mean? Well, you know what I'm just saying? We just need to. I don't know. I just appreciate the level that he went to.
You are
Private jets and
hilarious.
bodyguards. That's crazy though. For real though. Like I've never heard when you were telling me this. I was like, damn, he did all that. When I seen it, I was like,
Yes, he
whoa,
did.
man,
Yes, he
this
did.
guy,
He
so
did,
professional.
like you said, he went to Hollywood. Since we talking about Hollywood, he went Hollywood status with it. He didn't do the bootleg, you know what I'm saying, Instagram version of the conversation. He went Hollywood. He hired all of the players, and actually, he was using the money from the first woman he swindles to fund the lifestyle for the next woman he was going to. So it was kind of like a pyramid scheme to a certain degree.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Once he got somebody in the funnel, then he used that person to get another person. So,
And
But
you know what's
isn't that
crazy?
what they
As I'm
call
okay,
upgrading? You know that the woman that you really want is not going to accept you as you are. So you still want to be in a relationship, you still want the sex, you still want some form of intimacy, but you don't really want the person that you're with. They're just there to act as a filler, like you said earlier. There are people who are in your lives that are going to be fillers until you get to the one who you believe is the one. Is that
true.
correct to say?
I would say too many times that's what people do. I think in this situation, it appears that's what Kanye did, and he actually marries this one. What are your thoughts? Ella, did you see the? I see you said that you saw the first part of the documentary. What were your thoughts on that? Or the Kanye documentary?
I seen the first two. I
Oh,
didn't
you
see
saw the
the
first
last
two.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What are
I
your
seen the
thoughts?
first two at somebody's house because I don't have Netflix. It was just I don't know. It was real interesting. Like I didn't know that he was always like that. You know what I mean? I thought that that was a build up. You know, but it
Mm,
seemed like just out the gate he had that type of personality. And as I'm
mm,
watching it, I was like, damn. Like I remember when that first album came out. I was in high school. Like, and I listened to that album on repeat every day. Like that was like the greatest thing to me. Like I would be walking around, people like girls would be like, "Can I listen to that album?" Like I'd be like, "Here," but yeah, I love that album. It was just crazy, and I was thinking like, damn, I really miss. I was like, I miss the George Bush doesn't like black people Kanye. You know what I mean? Like, even though that's
mm.
in the same vein of what he's doing right now, he kind of. When I listen to interviews of him, he says stuff, and it'd be like, "Oh, that's pretty. That's a good observation." And then he'll go off into, "Yeah, and that's why Gucci came out with the padded leather, this, that, and the third, cause this style." And it's like, what are you talking about?
So,
But yeah, he's just erratic like that, and I
mm.
didn't realize until watching it. But yeah, he definitely has that energy. You know what I mean? Like, all right, what's up?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Hello?
I mean, yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but I would agree that he has some poignant points, but they're not always
Yeah, but
coherent.
Yeah,
yeah,
or
it was,
cohesive.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I think when he made the
Oh,
statement
yeah,
about slavery, I got what he was saying about
yeah.
things in our lives being a choice, but he didn't factor in the violence of slavery and the mental um
Can we
the
talk about that?
mental the mental action,
Can we talk about
the
that?
mental violence.
I don't get that statement.
Well, let me just explain it to you. What I get in that statement was that if you choose, you can be in a situation or not be in a situation. But there are, in terms of slavery, he didn't factor in the extenuating circumstances of violence that was acted on our people, the violence of their mentality. They were afraid to leave. They were afraid to leave the plantation, many of them, which is why many stayed. So, you know, him being coherent and cohesive, if he was coherent and cohesive, he would have taken that into consideration. Wow, our people are so scared that the white man is going to kill them that they're afraid to leave. So they're going to stay and continue to be slaves because they were afraid. But you did have a choice. You see what I'm saying? He didn't tie it all together and then finish that sentence. He had a thought, but he didn't finish the sentence. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. I've looked at it from kind of different perspectives, but I just I just can't wrap my mind around, people being, I don't know, being forced into a situation and saying that that's their choice. If I come from like a biblical perspective and believe in that, if I'm breaking up, I'm sorry because I'm like
No,
stressed
it
right
wasn't
now.
their choice to.
Wait, hold on.
It wasn't their
LF,
choice
you
to be
breaking.
a
I mean, I think.
slave.
Wait, LF, you
But
breaking up a little bit. Come
yeah.
closer to the mic.
Oh no, I'm close to the mic. It's not a matter of that. It's just reception. Like I'm in a
Okay,
bad
okay,
place.
go ahead. We
Maybe
can hear you.
maybe we can finish this conversation later because I don't think it's gonna get any better where I'm at right now. Like it's just bad. But from
LF
like
is
a
on the
biblical
job.
perspective,
Hmm.
yeah, I know you hear all the noise and stuff. But yeah, if you come from like a biblical perspective, somebody may say, "Oh yeah, slavery is a choice because thank you, man. Slavery is a choice because um, you know Deuteronomy or something like that, and we're only slaves because we disobeyed the Creator or something like that." And that's one way of seeing it. You know what I mean? If a person subscribes to that, if they believe in that, but I can't really wrap my mind around, what looks like innocent people just being snatched up and kidnapped and saying, "Oh, that was their choice." How many, even if
No,
you
I
do
don't think
believe,
I don't think he meant that was their choice. I think
okay,
he meant them staying in the circumstance when they could run away, they could, you
thank
know,
you.
I don't think he meant that you being snatched up was a choice. No, I don't think he meant that.
But I mean, how can I tell somebody that is wholly dependent and their whole, you know what I mean? They have that dependent mind state that, oh, it's just your choice. You know what I mean? Like that's something difficult to
But
overcome.
hold on, LF. Hold on now. Hold on. At the same token, right? If somebody's dependent or if somebody is in a position that makes them more susceptible to being oppressed, wouldn't that lead back to the Twinder swindler conversation that these women were emotionally vulnerable, right? And that you said on another time that it was their fault because they fell for it. So isn't that it's the same thing that what Kanye is saying that if yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, okay. Well, no,
you feel me?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
So
You trying
so
to flip
if
it on
we
me. No, I
because if
did
we
say
get the
that, but
principle, if we get the
I get what you're
principle,
saying. I'm just saying,
essentially
like,
he said what
but
you
so,
said.
but those women in those situations, or I'm not even gonna just say women. There's men who get swindled as well. Those people in those situations, they step into a lot of these things voluntarily. You know what I mean? Like I choose to start that app up. I choose to talk to you. I choose to meet up with you. I choose to do all these things. Where is the choice in people getting snatched? I just don't see it.
I would have to
Help me.
revisit the statement because y'all know I like to be a little bit it's a little foggy in my mind when he actually made that statement. I would have to revisit to hear what he was saying when he had the little TMZ rant because I don't remember fully uh that slavery was a choice and because you know the media
That's true. I'll give you
they
that.
spin
Maybe I'm
masters.
Well,
misremembering.
when he said slavery was a choice, what I got out of it, see, because, black people, we have a tendency to not take on the full picture without being emotional. We're very emotional about a lot of things. So take your emotion out of it and just deal with the logistics. The logistics of what he said was slavery was a choice. And what he really should have said, articulated, which he didn't articulate it, which is why it was so confusing because he didn't articulate it properly. He should have said to stay in slavery without a fight was it. See how different the sentence becomes?
But that's not even an accurate depiction of history because there were many slave revolts
Well,
besides
yeah, but
nocturnal.
I'm saying to you, listen to me. Had had he formulated the sentence properly, it would not have been misinterpreted.
I think if he was more aware of
Whether
history, he
you
wouldn't have
see
said
that
that.
or not, how you interpret, how anyone interprets anything that anybody says to them is what's going on in their heart.
All
What
right.
I'm saying to you and how you're interpreting it right now is not the way I meant it.
All right.
You just interpret it differently.
This is a short clip, so for that reason, and for the edification of this here conversation,
And I'm not a Kanye fan, so I'm not trying to defend him in
yeah,
any way.
they gonna say Nzinga over here could caping for Kanye.
No, definitely not.
I'm,
And I
I'm
don't
messing
care
with you.
what people say because I
I
don't
know
know
I'm
you.
messing with you, but it's a short clip. So just for context and edification of this conversation, I'm gonna play it again so that we can all possibly be on the same page. So he's having a conversation there, talking about Donald Trump, and it's very short. So let's listen to what he actually said.
Okay.
It was an in thing to put Donald Trump in your rhyme somewhere.
And by the way, I am in hip hop, but I'm not just in hip hop. I'm a black person in the black community, but I'm not just that. I feel like one thing is people try to minimize me to artists, hip hop, black community. Yeah, I'm always gonna represent that, but I also represent the world. When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like you was there for 400 years, and it's all of y'all. You know, like it's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery is blacks. So prison is something that unites us as one race, blacks and whites being one race. That we're one. We're the human race. Do you feel that I'm feeling? Do you?
Okay, so what did we hear him say?
Well, what I just said, what I just explained.
Okay, we're gonna go around the room and everybody in the audience as well. What did you? Because my mother always liked to say, "What did you hear me say?" Because even when somebody said something, we still heard what we wanted to hear. So, what did you hear him say? You could go ahead first, Queen Nzinga.
No, let LF go.
Okay, LF, what did you hear him say?
100% what Queen Zing said. He basically said y'all there for 400 years, and he emphasized all of y'all like they were outnumbering them, so they could have done something, right? But I think that's a ridiculous argument. Like, if I'm gonna sit up here and be like, "Oh, look at all the people in the prison. Do y'all outnumbered prison guards? You could have took over the prison and got up out of there. They in prison though. Well, you know what I mean? Like, maybe they don't think they could. Or even that, like, that's such a basic understanding of history. Like, there were prison revolts. There were
But you see,
slave
but the problem
rebellions.
was he was not clearly articulate. He didn't fully explain what he was saying. He was just saying it, and he
I
didn't
mean,
fully explain
it
it.
goes back to that character trait where he's all over the place. You know what I mean? He says stuff and he doesn't really understand the stuff. Like, a lot of times people are speaking, you know what I mean, based on limited information on the subject that they have, and they
Well,
feel like they're in the
a
right.
lot of
And
times
it shouldn't
people
sound like
talk and they don't realize what you think in your mind. What you think in your mind doesn't, for some people, doesn't always necessarily come out of your mouth the way that you're thinking in your mind. So that's why when people talk, you see how I'm speaking to you now? I'm speaking slowly with a certain kind of cadence because I'm speaking deliberately, which means I'm thinking about what I'm saying to you.
You know what's interesting is on that video that I showed from 2002. In the beginning of the video, he says, "I want to speak in sound bites." So from very early
Okay,
on
there it
in his
is.
in very early on in his career, he is aware. This is like one of his first interviews, getting recognition from the people, and he's like, "No, no, no, scratch that, scratch that. Let me start again." And he's thinking about what he's saying. So let's not make no mistake that he's not thinking about what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
he,
he's
like you're
putting it in
saying,
sound bites.
right,
And,
he's
and,
putting
and
it in
sound
sound
bites
bites.
are snippets of a
Right,
thought.
right,
They're
correct,
snippets. They're not a full thought. It's a fraction of a thought.
correct.
So to
I
live
don't.
your life speaking in sound bites will easily get you misinterpreted. Easily. No questions.
Go ahead, Ella.
I don't think he misspoke or misinterpreting him at all. I think he said what he said and he meant what he said, but he's just wrong. There's plenty of things that I done said before, and I was 100% sure of what I was. But it turned out, look back in the past, like, oh, well, I was wrong about that. Why can't we
So,
just,
but
why can't we just accept
to
that?
be okay, if I can, and then we go on to be historically correct, it wouldn't be necessarily 400 years of straight slavery or enslavement, right? It's 200 and something years of hardcore chattel slavery, and then slavery begins to morph. This is why you hear his conversation moving from just slavery. He actually said it to um the state of mind that the people are in. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to say what part of the conversation is he saying it is a choice, the fact
Well,
that you were initially enslaved or the fact that you continue to be enslaved.
this is what I said
Right,
before you played the clip.
right, right.
I said that we are in mental slavery. There's a form of mental slavery. You don't it's like, I'll give you an example. It's like an elephant. We know that the elephant is one of the strongest animals out there, physically strong. But if you take an elephant when they're an infant and you tie it to a stake in the ground, and you tell him, you can't leave here. You can't leave here. You're not strong enough to leave here. Even though he is the strongest animal on earth, in his mind, and what you've trained him and told him was that he can't leave here. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I
I
understood, but
understand.
I could, yeah, I can understand what LF is saying.
That's what mental slavery is. You have the power, but your mind, and what I've told you time and time again, that you can't do it. You can't leave. You can't leave here. You
And
can't leave here. You start to believe it, even though you're the strongest animal in the kingdom. You get it now?
yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's also important to note who is saying what they're saying. This is a person who was told that he can't, by the greater society, right? You can't rap. You should stick to producing. And he had, namely his mother and those closely around him, instill in him that you can. So on the topic of being mentally enslaved and pushing beyond limits that other people set for you, in the position that he is of accomplishing the things he set out to accomplish, he's not coming from a person who was given it on a silver platter. He's coming from the perspective of, they told me the same thing and I was able to push through and achieve what I
But
wanted to
isn't that
achieve.
what we said earlier before LF came in? You and I
Yeah.
had this conversation.
Yeah, so that's
His
what I'm saying.
mother, his
Yeah,
mother equipped him with the weapons of self-esteem.
right. So basically, he's coming in like a Marcus. Marcus was not well perceived or received in America.
Who's Marcus?
Marcus Garvey.
Oh
Marcus
yes.
Marcus Garvey's coming in saying similar things like, "Yo, what are you doing? What are we
Yes.
doing here? What are we doing?"
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
people like, "What do you mean? What are we doing?" You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like, "Yo, bruh, get it together. Let's. If they don't want us here, let's go." So it's kind of like, if you don't have the same maybe shortcomings or feelings of being able to accomplish a thing, you may be like, man, he's tripping. Because the guy later on who he has the back and forth with, he was really upset about what he said. I think he interpreted it along the lines of the way an LF received it. And we can't tell someone how to receive something.
No, not at all.
We can only give it and explain if we need to, but how they receive it is how they receive it, and they're entitled to their perception. And then, we have
Mhm.
these type of conversations. So
And hopefully, it's like art is objective, right? When you look at art, the artist had something in mind when they were painting that picture. And now, after the painting is done and they sell it to the museum and the museum displays it, we as an audience come in and look at the artwork and we'll say, oh, well, that looks like five dancing ladies. I say it looks like five dancing ladies. LF says it looks like macaroni and cheese. And you say, oh, I don't understand it at all. And the artist who drew the picture didn't think of any of the ways that you, LF, or I think.
That's also correct. You
That
know where
wasn't
that
his,
happens
that
at?
wasn't his intent.
That happens in Egyptology, trying to
Yeah, and
decipher the
that's called
metadata.
interpretation. That's what interpretation is. You know?
Everybody is saying,
And I
but go
can
ahead.
I can relate to that type of perspective. You know what I mean? Because there's things in my life where somebody I know they'll be doing something, and I'll be like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why don't you? You can't just see like just
Mm-hmm.
don't do that or do that."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I'm speaking from my perspective. I don't know
Right.
That's right.
what position, the reason why they make decisions they make. So I think it's very, I don't know. There's truth to what he's saying. You know what I mean? I'm not so first. You know what I mean? You got a group of people who outnumber them, but also I don't know their perspective. You were raised in a household
Well,
where your mother
you
told
didn't
you to
like
be
the
all
way
she
he
could be.
said it.
No, it had nothing to do with the way he said it. It's just
You didn't like
I don't
it
know.
is what I'm saying.
No, I have no feelings. I have no feelings about it whatsoever. It's
Oh,
just a
okay.
limited. It's just a limited like understanding of history because those things did actually happen and they did try that. And you know what I mean? They did. You know what I mean? Those things were quashed and they don't even talk
Yes.
about
So
those
yeah,
type of things.
there's many resistance that happen. I think some of the conversation is also out of frustration, right? For the condition for trying things and not necessarily, because it's like the how Sway conversation when he's beefing with Sway, right? So his thought is, the sky is the limit and beyond. And when he meets up against these roadblocks, you sense this frustration. You
But you
sense,
know, but you know something, you have to remember something. There are people in this world, and he strikes me as one of these people. And I saw that when I was working with him. He strikes me as one of these people who accommodates white people. So when you accommodate white people as you're sitting in front of them, the way you and I would speak as black people to each other, you may not necessarily say that in front of white people because it may hurt their feelings, or there may be some form of repercussion. We feel like there's going to be a repercussion if we say that. Some people filter what they say based on that thought. For
interesting.
myself,
I think that's a major part of him saying what he said in that situation. Because
absolutely. He said it
think
in
about
that space. He said it in that
yeah.
space in front of two white men. Look at the photo.
Mhm.
Look at the photo behind him. There's a white cameraman there. Now,
Well,
if that was me
the black dude
speaking,
with the dreads is there
wait,
too.
hold on, LF. If that was me speaking, I'm not trying to filter my conversation so that white people won't be offended. It's the truth.
But hold on now. Wait.
And he has a white audience that he has to appeal to, as well as a black audience. So he's going to say certain things to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
code switching.
Uh-oh. For those who just joined us, let me see. Positive reinforcement says, which is still a choice. If you choose slavery over death, it's still a choice. I mean, if you get to the nitty gritty of it, many people did choose death over slavery, and some choose slavery over death. It's not necessarily the most favorable choice, but many did choose, you know, a choice. I think what was it? Not Ebo landing. There was where they agreed to just jump off the ship and where was that? What did that happen at? And drown before they became
Yeah, that
slaves.
was in the Middle Passage.
Right. So yeah, this slavery conversation. I remember when it happened because it sparked a lot of conversation. A lot of people were upset.
Oh, I was pissed with him.
I
I was
think,
pissed.
but I think because I took time over the years to process it. Like you said
Yes.
before, sometimes we emotionally react to things
Mm-hmm.
without
Exactly.
really allowing what's being said to deal with the information intellectually, and sometimes that just doesn't allow for the crux of the matter to be dealt with. I mean, Bob Marley sing "Emancipate Yourself from Mental Slavery" umpteen years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So this thought of being mentally enslaved and allowing your oppression is not a new thought. So I don't know what. I
But
mean,
what we hear and what we listen to are two different things based on how we interpret it. Do you see
yeah,
the
based on where we
equation?
are.
And if you do the playback, which you did, which I think is brilliant, go back and play it again.
Let's go.
Hear it
One more time.
again.
One more time. One more time. Let's
You
back
know
it
what
up.
I'm saying?
I like receipts.
One thing is people try to minimize me to artists, hip hop, black community. Yeah, I'm always gonna represent that, but also represent the world. When you hear about slavery for 400 years, for 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
He
Like,
said he
he
represented
was
the
there for
world.
400 years, and it's all of y'all. You know, like it's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery.
He moved from the point. So the initial point is
Yes.
when you hear about 400 slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. That was the sound bite that people ran with it, and he tried to continue, but he went on to a different. He moved
Yeah,
the goalpost right here.
exactly.
Right
See,
here is
that's
where he
why I
moved
said
to.
he didn't finish his sentence.
Yeah,
He
hold
didn't
on.
You
complete
know,
the
like
sentence.
it's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery, blacks. So prison is something that unites us as one race. Blacks
So
and whites.
pause. This is what you call moving the goalpost. He said what he
Yeah,
said,
he's
and then he
moving
moved
it.
on. Like you
Yep.
said, he didn't finish his thought. He didn't round it off or anything. Yeah, shout out to Queen T, the Yummy Cottage, in effect. And put this up here. He didn't round it off, or he didn't explain. He just put it there
He
and
didn't
kept.
explain. That's
And
right.
so that's what kind of.
And see,
Yeah.
that's where the misinterpretation comes in. This is
I,
why when we're speaking, when you have a publicist, right? Didn't I say this earlier? When you have a publicist, their job is not only to get your work out there and make you public, but they're also to give you media training so that you can answer questions properly. Now, see, a lot of people, when they come into the public forum, you're saying things, but you're not finishing the sentence. Dude didn't finish what he was saying. He went on to a whole other subject. And he's out of context. So when you're doing that, that's where the misinterpretation comes from, where now I'm pissed at you because you said slavery was sounds like a choice to you.
But
That's
if you
not what he
listen to the
necessarily
words,
meant.
if you listen to the words preceding that one, I hear this type of language when people are trying to do exactly what you mentioned before, code switch. When they're in certain rooms, they're like, there's black people, white people, but I don't see color. You know what I mean? They use that type of language to make certain people feel at ease. And so
Yeah,
it
he
seems
said,
like a
but he said
continuation off
he's
of that.
representing the world. You see?
Yeah, but
He said
come
it.
on now.
He
Come
said
on.
he's representing the world.
I get it. That's you know what I mean. Like it's, but we know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
Well,
just trying to
he's got to
placate a
go
certain
home to
audience.
his white wife.
That's the thing right there. I think that's a
So how
you,
much
you know what I mean.
black
Like
stuff are you going to talk about if you're
that's
married
very
to
real.
a
That's
white
very real.
person?
That goes back to what I don't agree everything with that the man says, but sorry, there's a truck behind me. But Umar Johnson says like, how can I say that I'm for black people and married to a white woman? You know what I mean? Like
Well, yeah.
oh, I think we're jumping the subject. Yeah, I guess.
no,
We are jumping the subject.
I'm not trying to change the
Now I'm
subject. I'm
messing with
saying
y'all.
I'm saying that this is related to why he made that statement. We're trying to
Yeah,
Yeah,
make
it's
the
all
statement.
related. It's
We're trying to
definitely
make it
I
out
think
related.
like
I think as an
Mhm.
artist, there are some artists, many artists, they get to a point where you started off in a certain space, and right now it's happening in reggae music, where you start off, but you don't want to be typecasted like an actor who doesn't just like Steve Urkel, who doesn't just want to be known for Steve Urkel. So when you have a broader audience, you begin to take those label off. So the
Yes.
conversation before is I'm not just. You understand?
Yes.
Therefore,
Yes.
I want to expand. Therefore, get off of me. Therefore, now I'm going to talk to everybody. So this is why he goes from slavery, and then he's like, "Oh, nah, that's too narrow." And he actually says it because when you say slavery, people think about black people. So let
Right.
me give a broader thought that everybody can grasp. And so
Yes.
this is him, uh, Queen T for real, new conversation. This is him to me trying to expand the conversation so that that people don't just pigeonhole him as a rapper or a hip hop
I
artist.
think I think he realized what he said, just like when he was he was doing his little freestyle. He was like, "Oh damn, you gotta scratch that," and then he went back on
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
I
Right.
And
think I
see,
think he
and
caught himself in that moment, and he was like, "Oh, let
exactly.
me not," because we can't say
Yeah.
that's not what he meant.
Exactly.
We can't say that's not what he meant because he specifically said 400 years. You know what I
Well,
mean?
He,
So
yeah,
he
he
was
said
talking
it,
about slavery.
but the truth is, here's what I find about Kanye is that he's better. His thoughts are clearer when he's writing.
and
When
that
he's
goes.
writing, his thoughts are lucid and they're clear. When he's actually sitting in front of you and speaking to you, he's all over the place. He has no
I
control
think
over
that
what he's
applies.
saying.
Well,
So when he writes, he's very clear. But when he's in front of
I'm the
you
same way.
talking, he
And,
doesn't know how to talk.
and that goes for many people. There's some writers who are brilliant writers who don't speak well,
Yeah,
right? And there are people who can hold a conversation, but their writing is not the best. And that just
exactly.
may
Mhm.
speak to his experience in school. He said he went to art school,
Exactly.
and he's
Exactly.
so for those who just joined us, we're gonna go and wind on down. I think it was an excellent conversation. Hopefully, we take something away for our own lives and just taking a look at the things that we may have been inclined towards when we were young. Did we walk in that path? Did we walk away? Are we repeating lessons from the generations that came before us? If we're not, what did we do to break the generational curses? One thing that keeps ringing in my mind from of recent is that there's a portion in Deuteronomy that the Creator says, "I will revisit the iniquity to the third and fourth generation."
Mm.
That
Yeah.
part, every time I'm looking at my own life and
Hmm.
just really analyzing what's going on, that third and fourth generation is real. That means to the grandchildren and the great grandchildren.
Yes.
And if
Mm.
you are the grandchildren, the great grandchildren, if you go down the line and you look at some wrongdoing somewhere, somebody may have trespassed. And they do it oftentimes in cultural films, Nigerian films, and somebody doesn't know why they're messed up. The grandchild is there, they stressed, they're like, what's going on? And they may go to a spiritualist and they may say, it's something in your family line. Go ask your people. Right. And then the whole movie is the person going on this journey to find out who did what. I think to a
Yes.
certain degree, we're disconnected from understanding that, yes, people say, I'm not my grand. Yes, who did what? Because you're in their lineage, the same way you can ascend a throne because your father was a king, is the same way that you can get some, not necessarily be put to death for what they did, but you can get the spiritual effects and debris of their actions that they
Yes.
took many generations before. And when we understand that, I think we can start to move through these. When everybody's like, I'm breaking generational curses. Well, what's the curse? What's the
Right.
curse that you're breaking?
What is the
Mhm.
curse?
What is the
Yes.
curse? And
Yes.
everybody's curse is not the same. Maybe your father, your great grandfather committed adultery and stole somebody's wife, and you're the offspring of it. Maybe they cheated a business partner. Maybe we don't know. We don't know what the sin is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you this, and then I'll what I realized in doing this work is that even though you may not know the full story, whatever persists in your life and your lineage and your family gives you an insight on what the original crime could have been.
Yes. Ooh, you saying
Right.
it, sis. You're saying
So
it.
that's what I've learned. If you look down and see everybody, all of the aunts are single, or all of the men don't have their children, whatever it is, it gives you an insight into what the original offense could have been. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's another thing that the Torah talks about is just weights and measures is the
Mm-hmm.
most high's delight. That means if there's a debit on this side, it has to be a credit on this side, right? Because life it's looking to balance. That energy is looking to balance. So there's a book I came across. It called, oh man, I'm not even gonna go to the book right now because I can't remember the name. But it goes into it didn't start with you. I think that's the name of the book. I've said that before, and it goes into some of these things. Revisiting the family, and they don't know why, and then they realize, oh, you know what? Your great grandfather, he did bad with somebody in business, right? He robbed his business partner, and then you have bad luck, quote unquote, in this area because that energy is revisiting your family. The same thing you did to somebody else is going to be done to you. That's why
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes you see men who mistreat women afraid when they have daughters. Why are they afraid? Because the very things that they did to somebody else's daughter would be revisited to their daughters.
That's right.
And they are the most overprotective oftentimes with their daughters because they know what they did to. What do you think? It's just going to skip them? Like,
Right.
oh
Right.
no, it's still going to hit them. It's going to hit them
It's
in one
called
way or another.
karma.
It's called karma.
Yeah.
Okay, and she knows where everybody lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's a great conversation. I'm about to go make some food now and wind down for the day of rest. So thank everybody for tuning in. Like, share,
This was
subscribe.
great.
Yeah, it was a good little bill. We'll talk again next time.
Have a good
LF.
day. What's up?
Yeah, drive safe, I love.
All right, I will. Thank you.
See you,
Bye.
LF.
Bye.